Welcome to the Talk and Chatter experience powered by Gasoline Alley Harley Davidson, TCX Boots Australia, and Moto Products. My guest today is Keeley Pritchett. Keeley's a custom motorcycle builder from the Northern Rivers in New South Wales. If you have watched the Wide of the Mark documentary, you would have seen Keeley feature in it with his 1972 Triumph that he built for the film. Keeley's craftsmanship as a fabricator and mechanic are truly outstanding. He once built a supercharged SR400 and was recognised as Pipeburns Young Gun Motorcycle Builder of the Year. In this show, you'll hear some of the influences that Keeley has in his bike builds and just some of the stories like racing on salt flats and everything in between. So we hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back with another one real soon. Welcome, Keeley Pritchett.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's unreal. It's you've done a bit of a tenure up here at Gasoline Alley for what's it, a couple of months?
No, 6 weeks.
Is it?
6 weeks because I've been doing one on, one off.
Okay. So it feels like a couple of months because it's been stretched out a bit, eh?
Yeah. Full Hollywood appearance. So
yeah, it's a nice way to be, isn't it?
Yeah, good.
Who is Keeley Pritchett?
So I, to sum it up, small town boy, and yeah, it's quite a privilege to be here on this. To be honest, mate, like the people that you've had on here has been incredible. And just to be a small town motorcycle mechanic that had to move out of town just to try and get a job is pretty cool.
How like motorcycles come about for you? And thanks for saying that too. Like it's a compliment that's taken hardly because compliments are hard to take sometimes.
No,
but how did motorcycling come about for you?
It's always been a family affair. So my grandfather was probably the first one to really take up motorcycling back in the day. He grew up in Sydney and used to ride around with a 1942 model Waller Harley. So it's an army issue bike, and used to ride around in a sidecar, three of his mates hanging out and doing stupid stuff. And then my father later on got into bikes from his teenage years, and really started the love for me, like watching him as a real youngster, bringing XRs home and more so dirt. He was always orientated towards. Had a few Harleys now and then, not too many road bikes. And then, put me on a POE 50, and first day, sent it straight into the garden bed. So my nice pink POE 50. Yeah.
God. Oh, mate, that's a horrible start, but it's one for pretty much everyone, I think, isn't it?
That's it. I think you got to crash and learn at least once in your life. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those things. Now, was it growing up in Sydney at that point, or what was the deal there?
No, so I grew up. I was born and raised in the Clarence Valley, so not much further south than where you grew up. So I grew up on a little farm at Harwood Island. Probably know it for the bridge and the sugar mill, and that's about it. Actually, no, there's a pub, which is one thing to remember. So I grew up there on a farm and, always tinkering with pushies and pulling everything apart. My dad would come home and the mountain bikes pulled to a million one pieces, and very tolerant parents, I'd say that.
It's not a bad thing to have, is it? When you're surrounded by motorcycles and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And good place to grow up.
Awesome place to grow up. Really good place to grow up. Definitely gave me a lot of freedom as a youngster. But I'd say with that, it also separated me a bit from like other people. So I was still only 20 minutes away from Yamba, but it also gave that little bit of a barrier in between like socialising and stuff as well.
Yep.
So I think that's a lot of isolation from that as well, which definitely has affected me throughout my time like growing up and stuff. Yeah.
Is that something like I guess coming into like a workplace and stuff like that, you work solo a lot. This is sort of me as well. Is it hard sometimes to get into work? Like you got such a positive, friendly attitude. I couldn't think it being hard, but is it sometimes hard to get into a workplace?
Definitely. For myself, I'm very, I don't know how to express how I feel. Very, very closed off at like most of the time. Wear a brave face and smile and carry on a bit, but I find that coming into a workshop, like as long as everyone's friendly, it's easy. But there's always one person, so
sometimes two.
One or two, and it just depends. You can always get a cranky old mechanic there that doesn't really want you to, improve on things. So
that's a hard thing, and I think when you work by yourself too, you refine your own skills down to a point where if you're in a larger workshop that just doesn't get the chance to do that sometimes, and I guess you working alone a lot, you find that as well, yeah? Yeah,
no, definitely. I think more so coming from a background of just working on absolutely everything.
Yep.
Yeah, like that. I think that's a massive benefit for any mechanic, is not just pinholing, like not pinholing, but like pigeonholing yourself for one thing, and trying to diversify like your skill set is a major part in being a good mechanic, I guess. Yeah.
This is the wrong word to use for it, but gifted, because like it's not usually a thing that's gifted. It's worked hard for, but you're an incredibly gifted person with your hands, like as a builder, bike builder. But it's not gifted.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's worked.
Yeah, definitely. I cringe at the word gifted.
Me too.
It's definitely not.
It's hard work.
Yeah, exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Like when it comes to like designing stuff, there will be 50 iterations that go through your head before you figure out what you actually want to do, and like 50 designs on the bike. Like, I'll throw out 10% of what I actually do.
Yep.
And that's a perfect part about working for yourself, is you don't have that stress of a boss or a manager saying, "Come on, pick it up, let's go, let's get moving."
Yep.
You've got a little bit of you can pace yourself and do it all right and get it exactly the way you want it.
And that's something like how did you get into building of bikes? Like obviously working in an area like Harwood, you've probably worked on tractors and like you've probably done everything.
And pumps
and very diverse area to work on, with your hands. How did like building a bike, like where does that start? Where did that all happen?
So I didn't start on bikes. I fell off a PE and rode dirt bikes up until the age of about 14.
Yeah, right.
And then rugby got in the way, and I didn't really want to hurt myself on a bike.
But you want to play rugby?
Yeah, exactly. Like, look at my build. I'm built for it, mate. But no, so I was really fortunate. I was really fortunate. So I really struggled with bullying when I was going through like school with a whole class of about 5 other people. But really struggled with bullying going through school and really had a tough time, and like was actually like really quite depressed as a kid, which is really hard to understand for a lot of people. I don't know how you can think that a kid's depressed, but they can be.
Yep.
And so I had a mentor. I had 3 mentors, and I used to own the Amber Smash Repairs.
Mm-hmm.
And they all like got into hot rods and building bikes and all sorts of stuff like throughout their time. And on Saturdays and stuff, they drag in their own projects and build them and paint them and do all cool stuff. And that just blew me away. And I was all into overhauling, chip foos, and World Biker Build Off and all that sort of stuff. So that was always like, had me glued to the TV.
Yep.
And that's where it really kicked off. So those guys imparted how to sweep a floor properly, how to clean up, but like doing a lot of wet and dry sanding. And I always wanted to be a spray painter to begin with.
Right.
And then realised that half of them don't make it past the age of 50 because of the chemicals and the...
Yeah.
that's not that great.
No.
And then got really, had a real fascination for welding and fabrication, and did a lot of time with them. Like every single Saturday I can remember was done at the shop.
Wow.
Every school holidays I'd go in there for the full 2 weeks. Huge thanks to them for setting me on the right path. And yeah.
So did that, did it keep you busy from the bullying? I guess,
did.
like when you're saying that
Yeah,
you're outside of that, you're amongst a different community. Did that help there?
It gives you something to look forward to, like to get you through.
Yep.
To get you through the tough stuff. And I think that's where it's probably a good and a bad thing now, but I just fixate on anything that I'm working on or a project or what's coming in, my workload. It's just solely fixed on that.
Yep.
And I don't allow all the other stuff to come back in. Just put the blinders on and go.
Yep.
So yeah.
I think work and it does that, hey? Like if you can just, I don't know, just work.
Yeah.
You lose every chink in the armors. You know, like it's like I'm just going to work through this, or I think writing for some people as well is the same deal. Combining too, awesome. But yeah, it's one of those things you sort of not hide away from it, but you can just really just not push through everything, but you really can, eh? Like,
you can, and you can switch off
everything.
Yeah, exactly. You're only for me, working with my hands, I'm focusing on trying to get that bolt in without trying to graze my knuckles.
Pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's that little bit that you can just see, and then that you're thinking about the next step, you're just blocking out the rest. So.
Yeah, and bring it back to the simplest form. Mechanics is it's an incredibly smart thing, but the basic principles of it is quite simple.
Oh,
isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's highly intelligent, especially the further that we get with materials and lubricants and stuff now, it's getting very, very difficult and very, very scientific. But the basics of, you go back to working on one of those pumps that you used to do, you do it with your eyes shut now.
Yeah, yeah. Like for me, working with carburetors, you can do it with your eyes shut.
Yeah.
Going and doing full race forks is just calculating numbers and like return
Science.
rates and exactly.
Yep.
So that I definitely see like that sort of side of things with mechanical is just very switched on.
Yeah, it's an interesting field. With the Yamba paint and panel, was it? They're a traditional paint and panel shop. Like, it's moved away from that a little bit. So they're one of the ones weld, seam things up. Like,
So they when I was working there, they still had a lot of really young, not young, a lot of really old fellas, like old heads in the business, and guys that are like all mad keen hot rodders. So proper roof chops and like all like paddle lead properly, like done right, and like not much Bondo. So but Yama Smash Repair, I can't speak highly enough of them. I also did a lot of work with a guy called Grant Kavanagh. So through school 11 and 12, I'd work there, I think 1 day a week as a school-based thing.
I know that name.
Yeah. He was a guy from Inverell and came down to Yamba way back when, but he'd have guys come up from Sydney and stuff to do roof chops back in the day.
Wow.
And that was really more so where like the real hardcore fabrication stuff come in. Like
Oh, really?
Yeah, chopping out all the rust and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, making up new panels and
Were you good at it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right to say.
Look, always improving. I've got a long way to go. By no means can I shape up a Porsche body.
Yep.
But it's definitely one skill that I've always managed to kind of, so the basics of shaping metal is as highs and lows. It's all you got to think about, stretching and shrinking, highs and lows. And if you can take that on board, it's the same as working on a carburetor. You just work with the basics.
It sounds so simple, but it's so difficult.
Practice.
Practice, yeah.
Practice, many hours.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you go to, it's one of the first things you do in like shop A, shop B at, grade 8 to grade 10. You know, try and shape sheet metal and make things out of it. And it was beyond me. Like I just couldn't fathom it. And you mentioned chip foos.
Yep.
You look at Overhaul, and I still got the box set, actually.
Yes, same here. Every season.
Awesome show. I just respected it so much because it just seemed unfathomable. You know, it was like going to try and win a MotoGP World Championship. It's just like, how does somebody do it?
But that's a perfect example because the MotoGP rider that did that put the same, if not more, hours in on riding a bike and training. And exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So do you think, and I've had this conversation with a few friends over the years, if you put the hours into something, you'll just, even if you're not talented at it, do you think it'll come?
Yes.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the conversation we had was about, MotoGP or something related, was about bikes.
Yeah.
He's not a bike fan, but he goes, if you just you went out and did 10,000 laps, you mightn't get to Marc Marquez pace, but you'll get within, if you have the budget, you have the machinery, you just keep putting in laps and keep working away, you'll get to a point. I'm like, I don't know, but it's just time, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And having that determination to do that task.
Yep.
If you didn't want to do that task, you'd still be at the back of the grid.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a big part to it.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a go at the paint?
I used to do pinstriping and airbrushing and painting skulls on all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
So, like, sheet metal and fab is an artistic pursuit, isn't it? As much as it's a industrial mechanical pursuit.
Definitely. Yeah.
Are you an artistic person?
I even tried to go to uni for art.
Did ya?
Yeah, I know, and I don't seem too shocked. It's all right.
That's good. That's good.
But yeah, once I left school, so I got forced through by my parents to do year 12.
Mm-hmm. Was it good? In the end?
Scraping the ground, getting dragged by my ankles.
And
kicking and screaming like a 2-year-old.
Was it worth it?
No.
Okay.
No. I think now, in this day and age, anyone can go back and do uni if they want to.
Yep.
You don't need to go to year 12 to be able to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I didn't get great grades throughout year 12, but I still managed to do a bridging course that put me into industrial design.
Yep.
And I always wanted to do industrial design because it was artistic and I could incorporate all my mechanical knowledge with the creative side. And I just couldn't sit at a computer for
Yep.
more than 2 hours.
So you're better hands-on.
Very hands-on.
On the job builder.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
It's such a field that I'm so intrigued in. Like we had Leo Yip from Ellispeed in here.
Yep.
And obviously that's his thing as well. It's such an interesting field, and like picking a few things off, like we spoke of the Tesla Cybertruck, whatever they call it, things like that. Do you see interest or influence in that sort of stuff, or not really?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I'm also draw inspiration from a lot older stuff.
Okay.
Like there's some Moto Guzzies and stuff that were built back in the day that are just so ahead of their time. And the styling and everything was just like, it could be on a bike now and you'd go, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see where the bikes have not come from, but you can see a line of character, like Porsches. You know, you mentioned about shaping a Porsche body. Every brand has their still a line of character that you can still see in their shape and design. Hey?
Look at a Harley.
Same deal, yeah.
I've got a 1942 Waller and it looks the same as a Fat Boy.
Yep.
Like it's, a few little tweaks and a sharpen up here and there, but it's,
But the principle's there, isn't it?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Same thing.
Exactly.
Influences, like Chip, one thing. How, like, who else? What else?
Ooh, currently, Nigel Petrie.
Yeah, engineered to slide.
Engineered to slide, huge. Like, definitely him. At the moment,
what makes Nigel's work so well?
I think because it's just so clean.
Yeah.
I think it's in like fabrication's not a clean and tidy job at all. Like all you need to do is take an angle grinder to something for 2 minutes and you got dust everywhere.
Yeah.
Just the way he can keep everything so meticulously tidy.
Yep.
And the way the way in which he works is incredible.
Yep.
But then it comes out in his styling because everything's just so refined.
It's for Nigel's work, and I appreciate it as well. Like it's something I just look at and wow. It's borderline OCD in every part of it.
Every facet.
Even to the images that come out of it.
Yeah.
And that's something that you got to respect 100%. Like you're like, from the initiation of like the first drawing to the bike being built, how clean it comes out, to the images. Like my job's photo and video, and I look at his work, and he's a builder.
Yeah.
But his imagery of what he does is just, it blows me away. And him and the people he works with, pretty incredible, eh?
Oh, it's insane. It's insane. And so do you follow Max Hazen as well? Max Hazan?
No, I don't think so.
Max Hazan, Craig Rod Smith. They're both custom bike builders.
Yep.
And Max Hazan's just, freaky. Doing some really, really freaky stuff.
Right. Do you enjoy building them more than riding them?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I love riding.
Yeah.
And I've only really just started to get back into it in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Like being passionate about riding and actually thinking about it. More so, beforehand it was all just build.
Yep.
And
Wow.
Now it's still build, but
that's incredible. Like it gets to that point. I think for a lot of people too, they get to a point where it's like, I just want to build them or work on them more than ride it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Did you do an apprenticeship mechanical?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you go?
So
because you would have had to move out of town.
Yeah, exactly. So Yamba definitely doesn't have a bike shop.
No.
Grafton has, I think, one left in Grafton.
They had the Honda dealer with the Power Sports, wasn't it?
I think it's Suzuki still.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they used to have Honda, Grafton Power Sports, I think, had a Honda dealer out the back. I don't know. But not much there, though. Don't go to Grafton. So where'd you go?
So I did. So when I finished school, I tried to do panel beating in the now concept of it. So I went to Canberra and did collision repair, which is just plastic panels, pop on, pop off.
Wow.
And that lasted a whole of 2 months, and I was like, I'm not doing this. From what I was doing before panel beating, it was just a waste of my time.
So is that the new course?
Yeah, collision repair. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it literally, they don't teach gas welding anymore. They don't teach I can't remember, but I think they're trying to bring in more TIG than MIG, which is good. Like MIG's pretty outdated nowadays in the light sheet metal side of things. And then I went to uni when I was in Canberra, moved home, went up to Goldie, worked in cafes, Sydney, cafes.
Wow.
And then I was working in cafes, getting bored brainless,
Yep.
and I saw the advert for Fraser's Motorcycles was hiring.
Yep.
Went and started there as a first year, and yeah, that was an eye opener in the sense of how the way that the structure works as an apprentice.
Yeah.
That was very traditional. You sweep floors, you wash bikes, like
First year. Day
yeah,
one.
exactly. So first 6 months you don't get out of the wash bay,
Yep.
and you go and do the bins, and then you go, okay, you get a first service, you get 3 hours to do it, not an hour and a half like it normally takes a normal
Yep.
person, and yeah, you learn very much so like traditionally how to do it, and you got to keep an eye on what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to say, being like for a mechanic to be like good and successful is they got to pay attention to what's going on. Yeah, not just what's going on their own bike
Yep.
that they're working on, but everything else as well.
It's communication, isn't it?
Yeah.
With everyone, everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Were you over Northern Beaches or out at the
So
other
I was out at Concord.
Concord,
So
yeah.
I was at the big girl, the
big one.
mothership. Yeah.
Wow. In the big old one?
Yeah. No, not. No, that's way before my
Way
time.
before? Yeah, okay. So,
So-
the big glass joint,
Yeah, big glass joint on the corner of Parramatta Road,
Yep.
and where you pull off for the freeway.
the Western Freeway.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How mentors, time there, how'd things go? You enjoy it?
Spent a bit of time there. Enjoyed it. Learnt a lot.
Yeah.
And really like nurtured my understanding of motorbikes. And one big thing was they sent me to Harley University, so Harley Technical School.
Yep.
And had absolutely brilliant instructor there. The name is Steve Moffat. And he was unreal. So Tide, Tide. The funny day, I've got a story about that one. So we're sitting there on the first day, Tide, hey mate, what are you doing? I didn't know that you got a job. So my mate Tide's from Yamba.
Yep.
And so two small town guys rock up to their first day. I didn't even know that he had a job with Harley.
Wow.
And we're sitting down in class and chatting away, sitting beside each other, and the teacher walks in. It's like, all right, everyone, my name's Steve. We're going to go around the circle and introduce ourselves and hold hands and all that sort of stuff. And he goes, all right, so where are you from, mate? And goes, oh, Bankstown. Where are you from, mate? Oh, Traralgon. Where are you from, mate? Yamba. And he's like, what? And then Tide goes beside him, yeah, I'm from Yamba as well. And Steve's like, I live in Yamba. So Steve would travel down every single week that we had training there.
Yep.
And he was training like all the years of apprentices.
Yep.
And then doing the Master Tech classes as well. He'd travel down just for the job and
Yep.
then go back up to Yamba. So I see him nowadays and he's out for a surf and all that sort of stuff.
Wow.
But yeah, this is funny for me because I still, like, when someone's on the news or something and they flash to Yamba for the news
Yep.
on like a worldwide broadcast or something like that, I still get excited.
Yeah.
Because it's a small town. Like, I went to school with like 5 people in my year group. Like, stuff like that. Like, it's huge.
Now here's 3 people in a room.
Yeah,
From that
exactly.
region.
Exactly. Doing like a really, really specific like thing. Yeah.
Tell me this, is that Steve Moffat, the road racer from Yamba? I used to road race with him.
Really?
So is he a Harley tech? Oh,
He was-
he's a bike mechanic and tech.
Oh yeah, incredible bike mechanic.
Wow.
So he used to be a Yamaha trainer as well. Worked for the TAFE obviously with Harley.
Yep.
And then specialised in the Harley training down there.
Awesome rider.
Yeah.
A really good road racer. Yeah. Mate, that's so funny because I knew Steve Moffat was from Yamba.
Yep.
But I never knew what he did for work. But that paints a bit of a picture.
Yeah, I know, it's funny, hey.
How was like by that point you would have been working on bikes and everything yourself, like to change an oil in 3 hours. When you first get in there, there's no ego that gets in the way, but there's a little part of you must go 3 hours. Come on, I can do this.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
How did you adapt to that? You've got to learn.
Yeah, you got to learn, and at that point, you're just trying not to break anything.
Yeah.
And like working on like bikes that are a lot more than a lawnmower, you've got to be careful and taking your time. So in the beginning, it was very much so just do it right and don't break anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stick to the methods. And,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And did you finish time there, or did you go to somewhere else?
No, so I thought to myself, this is just the same thing. Oh, so actually, when I was working there, I started building a salt flat racer.
Right.
The little 100cc salt flat racer, so
Yep.
1938 model, Francis Barnett. and I put a so that's like girder fork, solid rear end,
Yep.
old thing that my grandfather dragged out of a chook shed in Albany, and brought it over here and sat in the front yard and rusted for years.
Wow.
And so I brought the bike in and started working on it in the workshop. And I was walking around like, oh, what do I do about this? Because I'm an apprentice. I don't know, first year.
So you took this into Fraser's?
Took this into Fraser's,
Yep.
working on it like in my spare time on a Saturday or something like that. And all my lunch breaks and stuff. And I'm asking guys for help. And they're like, oh, I don't really know. And I was like, well, I kind of want to learn more. Like, this is Harley's. Like, it's all, any dealership, you'd learn the bike. You learn the bike inside and out. You know exactly what's going on with that bike. And I didn't want to have my blinders on like that. I wanted to learn more. And so I went up. I was working on a mate's bike for the machine show build comp. So this is I can't remember. And I was working on his iron head, and I was doing a top end rebuild on his iron head. And this is still while I was a first year up in the Northern Beaches. And he's like, oh, I don't have a bow spring compressor. I'm like, okay, what do we do now? And he's like, oh, the shop around the corner has one. I walked in there and I was like, holy shit. This place has snowmobiles hung from the roof. What else? Hang gliders and like a big old wood chopper with a blade on it like that, all hanging from the roof.
Wow.
There's a Red Panther sitting there. There's bikes everywhere just hung up, and it's like takes your breath away.
Yep.
And then you walk around the showroom, there's Z900s, there's 750 like H2s, there's like R3 rotaries, like everything you can, like you just go, holy cow. And I got talking to the boss, and I said, I want to work here. Like, can I come and do like a weekend? And, oh, yeah, okay, righto. Well, next Saturday, come in and do a couple of hours and we'll see how you go. They didn't want an apprentice. They wanted like a qualified.
Yep.
And so I went there the following week and worked on an SR400, which I had at the time. So I was like, hell yeah, smash that out. Yeah. I know exactly what I'm doing. So I was all, okay, cool. And the boss was like, all right, no, you start in 2 weeks. And so yeah, that's called Surfside Motorcycles in Northern Beaches, Brookvale, still there. Trevor Love still owns it. Trevor is a really interesting character. Mm-hmm. He started building all the midget car, I think it is. So he used to build like race motors for midget cars, and also used to work in a lot of race teams throughout the Castrol 6 Hour days.
Wow.
And then went on, worked for Ducati doing Dharma, like motors for the race bikes and all sorts of stuff, like really cool history. And when I was down at the Salt, like a random fella came up and said to me, where are you from? I said, oh, I live in Brookvale at the moment. I work at a shop there. And he goes, oh, say hello to Trevor Love for me. And this is the middle of nowhere. Like the Salt flats are empty. There's not many people go to it.
So this is Lake Gardner?
Lake Gardner, yeah. So when I started there, I was finishing up building my Salt flat racer. So that was built for, I can't even remember what year it is now. Went down to Lake Gardner, 3 blokes in a 2000 model Toyota Hiace with gear packed to the rafters, and drove the whole way down. We were going to film a movie, which never eventuated. It was just a grand idea. And got down there, and I got glandular fever when I rocked up there.
Oh,
so I was crook. And, so that amazing place is, to get out there is this hell road, all red dust to get out there, and none of the seals closed properly on the van. So just from the word go, it was just through your teeth and everywhere, up your nose. And so I got out there, got really, really crook on the first day, managed by the third day to do, I think, 2-3 runs. The record originally was 45 mile per hour for 100cc, just straight gas. And I think I ended up doing 70 mile per hour.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
On
a rigid rear end, girder front end with a mountain bike shock that I molested to try and make it all work.
Wow.
And the bike is literally only probably a meter and a bit long. Like, it's tiny. And so I did that, and the final run of that day, my final record one, came in and pulled up, and my head stem nut had fallen off. So me being the first year apprentice, thought, I can clean this thread up. I'll just use a metric tap. Metric die, and I did it all. and it's a Whitworth thread.
Yeah, right.
So I wasn't holding on real well, and the nut came flying off mid-run. And out there, if any, like, you got to think anything doing like 200 mile per hour, if they hit like a rock,
Yep.
and it flicks up or bounces or something like that, it's catastrophic.
Yep.
And I've got this dirty, great big nut laying out in the middle of the run.
Oh, jeez. And the only thing that's holding your basically triple clamp on is just the weight.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
isn't it?
me sitting on it. It's the only thing. And I didn't even notice it. Like, the bike vibrated that much, I thought it was normal. So,
Wow.
yeah.
What would have been the original speed of that bike?
Ooh,
20 mile an hour?
Ooh, yeah, not even, hey. It's slow. Real slow. Like, one horsepower, 2, 3 horsepower maybe. Yeah.
Do you know what you got to power-wise?
I ran it on a dyno, but I definitely didn't get what it was supposed to be making until I was out there.
Yeah, right.
Mucking around with it, yeah.
And when you say gas, you mean pump?
Just pump gas.
Pump fuel? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy you've seen down there said to say hi to Trevor Love. Like in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere, just, say hello to Trevor for me.
Wow.
Yeah, but you got to, you know this just as well, like how small the motorcycle community is. Like, it's incredible.
It's it's not way too small, but it's just everyone knows pretty much everyone.
Yeah, like you knew Steve.
Yeah, that's right. And didn't know what he did.
Yeah.
But just knew the name and same deal. Growing up in northern New South Wales, you look at the entry list, guy from Yamba racing up here. Man, that's pretty full on. Now, working in Brookvale, I used to do a lot of track days with, APW. And we must have been around the corner.
Yeah, okay.
They used
so
to,
Sean and all
Sean,
those boys?
Yeah, Sean and Mick Carruthers and
Yeah.
whatnot. We used to stay with them and do like Eastern Creek or Sydney Motorsport Park stuff and whatnot. And it's a pretty interesting place to work too. It's a pretty hectic sort of suburb, and
it is.
It's a bit of a wild character part of the world too, isn't it?
It is one of the best industrial estates
Yep.
I got to think, the world. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I got a mate now that's in South Grafton that used to be a composites technician there.
Okay.
And he used to build, in the same industrial estate, he used to build like the displays and Myers and all that sort of stuff, like the animatronics stuff.
Wow.
He used to build like the proper, not wild oats, but like the equivalent of wild oats, like yachts, super yachts and all that sort of stuff. And he's in South Grafton now. But he says there was an animatronics guy down the road. There was an aerospace engineer. There was like machinists galore.
Yep.
Then you got sandblasters, powder coaters. What's the name? Who's the Porsche mob that does the Top World Time Attack? PR Tech.
Is it PR Tech?
PR Tech, yeah.
Challenge.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like one of the best like race car builders
Globally.
Yeah, globally. And then you've got 5 bike shops, I think, when I left, 5 or 6 bike
Considering
shops.
such a small industrial estate, there's everything in that place. Yep.
Everything you can think of. And like the bolt shop's just around the corner. You didn't have to go anywhere else other than that 1 or 2K radius.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, it's like we're nerding out about industrial estates, but it's one of those things. And my dad always said it, like, you can judge a place by its industrial estate, pretty much. Like, like you can, because you drive into a place, and for one thing, it's work.
Yep.
There's going to be work here if there's a good industrial estate. And that place, like on Friday afternoon, was always a pretty exciting place to be, But what'd you learn there? What was a good learning experience to be in there? Because you're out of a dealership world. There's a lot of different things you're learning, I guess, at that point.
Yeah, I'd definitely say I learnt patience.
Okay.
A lot of my mates and my family would laugh at me if I said patience because I've got a very short temper.
Right.
And that's normally when I'm working on stuff. But for me, it takes a lot to get up to that point where I blow. Like old bikes, there's so many things that can go wrong. Like you'll work on fixing an indicator switch and something else will shit itself.
Yep.
And then you're there with a job that was only supposed to take an hour. It's taking like well over, and the boss is starting to really blow up and get in your face. Like, come on, get it done.
Yep.
But yeah, just the variety. Like so, old bikes have so much technology in them that you can take with you for everything else.
Yep.
And the procedures and way you go about stuff. Like working on an old Triumph, you got to pull half the stuff off to actually get to what you want to work on. And doing that means you're a lot more patient when you're working on a late model R1200 or something and get to an air filter.
Yeah.
Like you understand, you go, okay, yep, just go procedural wise, I'm just going to tear that down step by step by step.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of it's procedure, isn't it?
All of it is.
You find that procedure and interesting world. Why did the mark you did?
Yep.
on
yep.
on a old Triumph.
Yeah.
He said old Triumph, and I'm like, oh, I've got to mention this. So,
Yeah.
mate, tell me. I watched it. I don't want to embarrass you, but as a character, of being yourself, for someone saying that they're shy and grew up by themselves, mate, you're a star. It was bloody awesome to watch.
Oh, God. Yeah.
You probably watch it back and like half these things, if I do watch something, I'll probably cringe at myself, but you probably watch it back and maybe, what did I do? But it's unreal. You didn't betray yourself, just yourself so well. It was bloody awesome.
I put it all down to the editing. I think they did a great job at editing.
They did a good job. They did a good job. But
good job editing it, because,
how'd it go?
I don't remember, like, saying half the stuff as well.
Yeah, right.
And I'd chop a bit in there to make it, like, funny or something.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, I did an incredible job editing it. But that was, like, coming on here is an honour for me. Doing that was just next level. So Tom called me when I was building one of my machine show build comp bikes.
So how'd the relationship start? Did you know him at all?
Yeah. So Tom and I did So for me, everything really comes back to the machine show.
So this is Tom from Purpose Built Motor at the Gold Coast. So machine show.
So machine show's Matt Darwin. Mm-hmm. It used to be run down in Braidwood.
Yep.
I think he got about 3 years out of it until COVID hit. So machine show is I think it's pre-85 or pre-95. Bring anything. And it's one of those shows, like there was one year we were down there and it's Braidwood. So it's past Wollongong, past Nowra, out west a bit, like towards Canberra. So it's freezing in winter.
Yep.
And shows in March, so it's on the tip. But it was probably 3 degrees, horizontal rain, and everyone's standing around freezing. All the ones that were there were all die-hard bike nuts.
Yep.
And old bike nuts, which is like circle of about that big.
Yeah.
And
you train the funnel.
Yeah, my happy place.
Yeah.
And so that show's like really, really awesome and got such a great atmosphere. And like I met my partner there. But Matt started to do a build comp. So he'd invite, I think it was like 20 something in the first year, and then the next year was a little bit more. Like builders from all around Australia, so anyone could enter, and then you get invited, like he'll pick you and then you go and build a bike. And somehow he picked me to do it the first time round. I think I just pitched him a really good idea. I'm going to build a salt flat racer out of a bike. And so the first year, everything really revolved around that. Second year, I built the supercharged SR400, which I'd had for ages, which is a learning curve in itself as an apprentice trying to figure out how to supercharge a bike.
Yep.
And like styling wise, and a lot of it came into that. And I ended up winning that year, which was really cool. And Tom came down to one of the builders' meetings for the first year. Met him there. Second year around, he started to really follow along like my process and all that sort of stuff. And then started to create a friendship. And Instagram's huge because you can talk to people.
Yep.
And from there, he's like, all right, I want you to be a part of this project. And if you talk to anyone else on Wide of the Mark, we had zero idea of what we were going into.
Wow.
Other than the fact that it was like 2 weeks in Tasmania.
Yep.
Like, so I had, because I was an apprentice, I had zero money. And absolutely zero money to spend other than on bikes and food. And I had the Triumph sitting there that I'd blown up riding to Mudgee Meltdown, which is another story in itself. Absolutely destroyed the motor. And I had that sitting there and I was like, well, I got to put it together before I start on something else. So I was like, I'll do a Steve McQueen, like, tribute kind of thing. And then started to design it as a, like, Rickman replica, just with a lot larger tank. So the styling was, like, around that kind of style. And, yeah, got a call, did that. And, like, being a part of it, like, with people like Maddie Mack and Emma and, like, even Max and Justin. Justin's huge. Like, Justin's one of my idols as a builder, like what he does. That's Pop Bang.
Yep.
Incredible bike builder. Tom's a really good bike builder. It was just awesome to be a part of it in such a cool little group. Yeah.
Enjoyable?
Oh, best
Stressful?
experience. Yeah, best experience. Like, getting there was a headache. So, like, I think, like, in the starting scenes is, like, me on the phone to Tom. I didn't know he was filming, but I had really... I I sent my head to get machines, like the valves and stem seals and all that sort of stuff. So I put K-liners in. And I sent my head off and it came back and they put valve stem seals on it without me like really knowing. And this is old British stuff. So they got a real mad cutaway on the valve guide. And it was actually acting like a squirty gun. It was sucking the oil in and then pushing it in there with the rubber to help it like push it through. So it was smoking like no tomorrow. And I was like losing oil like no tomorrow. I was like, I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. And it took me 3 or 4 times to tear the whole top end down. And then finally figured, okay, right, valve stem seals, pull them off, ran fine. Put it all back together. Then I had massive gearbox issues. So I had like 4th gear was a bit sticky.
Yep.
And yeah, bit of filing and fettling and old Triumph stuff.
Yep.
Put it back together and then only just made it to... So Tired, my mate, helped me drive down there. And driving along just to get to him. So I was riding along 20 minutes just to get to his place. Riding along and I mustn't have tightened up one of the tappets enough and it's unscrewed and then popped out.
Yep.
So we pulled into a mate's place down at Albury, Wodonga.
Yep. And
his name's Shane and he's just a Triumph guru. And I rocked up there and I was like, oh, do you got any parts? And he's like, yeah, I got this. And he's like, I've got some push rods here as well. Like, do you need anything else? And I was like, push rods? I don't need push rods. I'll grab them anyway, throw them in my kit. Got down, just made the ferry. And then, shipped over there. First day, the bike just had issues like no tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, and so the first day riding along, I think my CDI shit itself because I put an electronic ignition in it.
Yep.
And it was brand new. It shit itself. Rode a little bit further, and then it snapped a push rod. And
come on.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, I still to this day don't know what was going on there. My clearances are fine. I don't know what was going on. And snapped it on the first day, pulled up, fixed it in the van overnight, and then met up with the crew. It was a real cool experience to do it on that bike.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like a ride and the breakdown's all a part of the journey.
Yep.
Me breaking down every 20 minutes was definitely a part of the journey. And taught me a lot that I can fix anything as long as I put my mind to it.
Yep.
And that was huge. Like normally you just go, I'll just push it on the back of the truck and take it home and fix it next week.
Yep.
You don't have that luxury. Like you gotta keep up with everyone else, otherwise you're getting left behind. And especially with Matty Mack, he's gone.
He's pinned.
Yeah.
What was the tell me what is the Triumph? Go break it down for us.
So it's a 1972 Triumph Trophy 650.
Yep.
I think they use them as like a police model over in NZ.
Yep.
I think they even use them as a police model here for a bit too.
Right.
Yeah.
Where'd you pick it up?
Picked it up in Melbourne on Valentine's Day.
Wow, what a present.
Yeah. Drove down in the shitty old Hiace with my missus doing 110 with no heater. Oh, no aircon. So we're wrapping heads in wet towels and stuff. And, drove all day, got down there, picked the bike up off this old boy that hadn't ridden it in years. And, so the first ride I ever took it on was to Mudgee Meltdown. After a couple test runs of breaking down.
Yep.
Took it to Mudgee Meltdown, and oil pressure switch wasn't working, so I had no oil light.
Yep.
Belting along down the highway, which they're not really supposed to do. They're pretty, not supposed to be a high revving motor. And I was trying to keep up with a bunch of Harleys. And, absolutely toasted the motor and knock.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Yep. So pull it down, start again.
Pull it down, start again. And that just sat off to the sideline while I had to build the supercharged bike. So.
Wow. So the supercharged SR. So wide of the mark, awesome experience.
Huge.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
It looked cool. It looked really good.
It was so fun. It was so good. To be a part of it. And I hadn't ridden dirt. God, I'd ridden once when I went home to see my folks. I'd done a couple dirt track come and ride test days and stuff, but I hadn't been on a dirt bike in a long, long time. I got comfortable. I hadn't been comfortable on a bike off road or even on gravel in a long time. And, that was really, as a shock because it's 72 model suspension. I didn't do anything to the suspension, so I didn't have the budget for it. And, it just carried on and bucked and wallowed. And, it was an ordeal to ride. But by the end of it, I was like, I loved it. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you go I've never ridden with Tom, but Matty Mack, Emma, Max as well.
Yeah.
Awesome dirt riders, all three of them.
Yeah, they really push you.
Good dirt riders.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
It's a pretty damn good experience as well.
Yeah, no, they definitely help push everyone along. Like Justin had never ridden off road as well.
Yep. So
and
he's
by the end of it, he was killing it.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yep. His bikes are Pop Bean Classics, obviously. Incredible, eh? Good builds.
Yeah. I love the styling. He's just got a real good eye for it.
Yep. I think this, it's obviously not a story that's made. It's just done along the way.
Yeah.
But the story of a couple of you guys and the phone calls, and I just think, it was very well done. We went to the premiere down at Hoto, and I thought it was really cool.
Yep.
So, what'd you do with the bike? You kept it, or did you get rid of it?
Kept it. Started building it up again for hopefully the next one.
Yeah.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Yep.
Well, they might not invite me back. I was a bit of a dick, so.
Who knows? I doubt it. You've got a revolving door of bikes. It seems like your Instagram, mate.
Yep.
There's a KZ750. There's an XR, or there's every week there's something. Is there bikes you hang on to, or you're just are you attached to any of them?
I'm attached to all of them. I'm attached to all of them, but the bank account comes knocking.
Yeah, it's hard.
So, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you're trying to flip bikes to make a bit of money.
Yeah.
Like I'd love the DT175 I picked up for $500. I don't want to get rid of it, but I'll have to. Like, yeah. I've got the 42 Waller, which I'll finish when I'm 50.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got the supercharged bike, which I'm not allowed to get rid of.
So you kept that SR400?
Still got that.
Cool.
Still got that. That was actually going to be my dust hustle bike this year.
Yeah, that's
It'll have to be for the postponed one.
How does it go? Like how'd you build it?
It's stupid.
It is. How'd you think about building it? Because they're a very simple, awesome machine. Like, good base to build off. How'd you think about doing that?
Exactly. It was again. I was like driving back from the salt. I was like, all right, I'm going to build another bike.
Yep.
What do I have? And I had that sitting there.
Yep.
I took it to actually Mudgee again. I was riding it to Mudgee on a ride with a whole bunch of Harleys. And this thing, before I turned into the supercharged bike, it was a rigid chopper with a suicide jockey shift and a yoga mat for a seat.
Wow.
And I'd welded the tank solidly to the frame.
Yeah.
We went for this ride out to Mudgee, and there's me trying to keep along with all the Harleys and stuff, but the thing could wheelie. Like, it was just, it was a cranky little bike, and it could wheelie like no tomorrow. And I was popping a couple wheelies and stuff, and the whole tank kept coming down and smacking. And so I cracked the frame and ended up just bodging it to get it to Sydney and get it home. And, so that was toast and sitting in the shed, broken down again. And then that's what I decided to use for the next build, because I had it there, and it's cheap. So
yeah, good cheap build. And that's probably why everyone's built off them for... you see the Deus builds over the time, and that they've been so popular to build from.
Awesome base. Awesome, like air-cooled, 4-stroke, 400, usable power.
Usable power, yep.
Yeah, parts available,
Yeah, it makes sense. Tell me about the salt flats. What's it like?
Oh, yeah, another experience that you'll never forget.
Do you get nervous out there?
Oh, I get nervous doing anything.
Yeah. It'd be just weird.
You would have heard my voice doing this when I started.
Nah, not at all. But it's one of those places where, I spoke to Rochelle Splatt when she came in about getting out there, and you're talking about that dirt road. You just drop over a hill, and then...
Yeah, exactly.
It's a different place in the world.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could fully relate it to, like, the landscapes in Star Wars. Like, you just come over the little mound, and then there's this just sea of white. And when you're out there... you can't actually tell like where the horizon finishes.
Yep.
And when you're sitting on a bike, you're looking down the start line, waiting for the marshal to move out of the way so you can nail it. And you look up and you just go, holy hell. And when you're riding, all you've got, there's no other noise. There's not a single ounce of noise. And all you've got is the bike. So the vibration, the acceleration, it's just incredible experience.
Just the air's clear.
Yeah.
You just got that pure sound, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing. Like, it's just a big bowl of salt. Yeah. Yeah. And then you go there, and then there's teams like, I was there the year Valerie Thompson flipped her Streamliner.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And you got teams like Bud and like the big guns.
Yep.
And they're coming over because the salt over there is deteriorating. They're coming to Australia for the salt flats.
So is our salt better than Bonneville?
Yes, much better. Much better. A lot more thicker.
Okay.
I was using 150, 200 mil batten screws with a proper bat and screw gun, like impact driver, and you'd be bogging it down trying to get it into it.
Really?
And that'll chew through like a foot of wood, easy. Yeah.
Far out. So our salt's that good.
It's that good. Yeah,
Yep.
it's incredible. And like, it all comes down to the season. Like if it's a wet season, it's a little bit sloshy and there's
Yep.
patches. One thing about the run though, I'm not sure about the long track. I only did the short track, but there's potholes in it. It's not what you think. Like it's like concrete. It's got the surface of concrete, just super rough, but there's still imperfections in it.
Wow.
So you're still like, like, what I mean, like vibrating and shaking down the run, you're still hitting potholes at like 115k an hour.
So it's not just like on glass. It's
No, it's so different. The surface is so different, and you'll lose a lot of traction on it as well.
Yep.
Because it's quite slippery on the top.
Mm-hmm.
So like the big guys, when they're running high horsepower bikes, they're worried about burning out tires because of the slip when they're like cruising down. There's all sorts of stuff to take into it, yeah. And like the elevation, like I think it's 0 elevation on it as well.
Yep.
So it's really different. Humidity's very different. It's all, yeah.
So as a tuner or something, there's a lot to...
There's a lot of variables.
in it.
You wouldn't get it on a dyno. And that's like with my 2-stroke that I took, because it's 2-stroke, you get a lot of feedback.
For sure, yep.
Good learning experience learning carburetors down there. But yeah, like you couldn't tune on a dyno what you want to do down there. You can get it close, but you still be playing with it all week.
What's the goal there? You're going to go back?
I definitely want to go back.
What would you, without giving away a secret, what would you build to? What's something you'd like to do another record attempt on?
I want to really go for the 300cc next.
Okay,
I don't
yep.
want to jump just to a big bike.
Yep.
Yeah, I reckon 300cc would be pretty cool.
What's a 300, like 300 2-stroke or?
Probably 4-stroke.
4-stroke?
Yeah, I'd probably go 4-stroke.
Yep.
Because 2-stroke, 4-stroke doesn't come like it's just the classifications is just CC.
So capacity based.
Yeah,
okay.
Capacity based, fuel, and then induction or whatever.
Forced induction, yep.
And then or forced induction, and then the way the bike's built, so streamline, strip back,
yep.
modified, all that sort of stuff.
So 300 4-stroke, somewhere in that sort of deal. So the world's fastest XR280. But mate, I went to Bonneville just to go to Bonneville,
Yep.
not for a race, not for Speed Week, but like just to be on the salt. Like one thing as a ranger, oh man, it's torture.
But you get sunburnt from both directions.
Yeah,
The reflection from underneath is just ridiculous.
oh, it's brutal, hey. And
Yeah.
I think I'd rust after a week out there. Right? Like, yeah, but to go to like down there, it's March, isn't it? I'm pretty sure each year.
Yeah.
February, March. Yeah, I'd love to go. I reckon it'd be cool.
And then you like when you're down there and you hear like the big guns going.
Yeah.
Like you can tell when they're on song.
So what's the sound like?
Nothing. I can't explain it. That's too hard of a question. Yeah.
But it's just everywhere?
All you can hear is just whoa, like the sound.
Yeah.
Of it just moving.
Yeah. Cool. Be really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
As a gearhead,
Yeah.
it's one of those places. Contraptions. Tell me any cool contraptions down there, or what have you seen? Like fastest bathtubs, or?
Oh no, they've got to be safe.
Yeah.
They've got to be safe.
Because it's a proper. This is the thing too for people who don't know. Like it's a proper motorsport event. It's a sanctioned event.
Yeah,
it's not like
yeah.
you just rock up the salt.
No, you've
Let's
got
go
proper
fast.
proper scrutineering to get on there. And yeah, they are really like specific with scrutineering. Obviously, so like 2 wheels is pretty unsafe at the best of times.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's always like a guy. You'd be riding along and there's a guy cycling, but going quick, like on a normal old treadly.
Yeah.
And you'd be driving along in your car doing like 60 or 70 along him, and he's just cruising because it's dead flat and it's like no resistance basically.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, some funny stuff. There's a guy, I'm sure there's the same guy that gets around down there, but he's just in budgie smugglers.
Right.
He's got the big mullet and budgie smugglers, and he cruises around like that the whole time. Do you imagine his tan at the end of it?
Yeah, he'd be.
He'd be leather.
Yeah, it would be. It'd be a suitcase. Oh, mate. Yeah, definitely a place to go. What other sort of events have you done? Like, obviously, talking about going to Mudgee, some of these other like bike events. What else have you been to?
Ooh. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
I've done, Throttle Roll in Sydney, which is cool, custom bike show.
Is that Tripalou's host? No, not Tripalou's.
No,
Who
so
was
it's
hosting
Mark
it?
Hauer
Yeah.
organises it and runs that. He's
So what,
the
they
guy
block
that
off
does
a street or
specific
something, don't
channels
they?
ride. Yeah, they used to. They used to block off a
Yep.
street in Marrickville,
Yeah, yep.
which was sick. It was so cool.
Good show?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Unreal show. Live bands and yeah, good atmosphere. The last year, I think they did it in a old factory in Redfern, which is really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really American style. Like what you'd refer to as American, well, I refer to as American style, is like Mama Tried and all that sort of stuff, where they stack them and it's got the lights lit.
Yep.
And yeah, it's really
That
really
sort of
cool.
feel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really polished. Not much else, to be honest.
You're getting close to your time here, right? Are you going back home?
Yeah.
That's the plan. Northern Rivers, like it as an area, we spoke about it before we started. It's just gone absolutely ballistic. There's not a bike shop in Yamba. Never, don't think I've heard of a bike shop in Yamba from my memory. Adventure Garage, obviously, you know Andrew and that really well as well. Is there a way of making your own thing down there? Like how do you do that?
Definitely. My only battle is at the moment is there's not enough infrastructure.
Okay.
So there's no infrastructure in the area because it's been taken up by the massive influx of people that's there.
Yeah.
And every builder's busy. So there's nothing like there's stuff coming, but normally they've already got a name on it. So to try and find a shed or something to work out of is just next to impossible.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is your plan to, like, are you going to work on bikes at home, like down there, or what are you doing?
I work on bikes down there at the moment.
Yep.
I squeeze them all in and make it work.
Yep.
But yeah, my plan is to definitely grow it down there, but it's just a matter of
Yep.
timing and asset, like money to be able to put into it and all that sort of stuff.
Now, you were doing some stuff at Adventure Garage for a while, weren't you? Or doing some stuff at Salt Creek anyway.
Salt Creek Motor, I did a little bit of work
Did a
for.
bit of work, yeah, before they moved out to their other shed. Good area to work in, hey, out there.
Oh yeah, no, it's just good to be home.
Yeah.
It's good to be home. Like doing a couple of years in Sydney, a few years in Sydney, and just the rat race.
Yeah, yep.
I'm not a city person. I like to take it slow and talk slow. So
It's good to do. What's a good build that you got coming up? You got anything that's like a surprise, or you got anything that you're working on at the moment, or what's happening there?
I've always got builds I'm working on.
Yep.
Nothing. Yeah. I think they're all special in their own way.
For sure.
Yeah, they're all my little children. So
Yeah, makes sense.
But no, I want to do like this is such a good industry to be in because it's like it is actually really diverse. You can go a lot of ways with it. Like what you're doing is really cool. For some reason I found out that I actually like public speaking from doing like the interviews after like Wide of the Market, all the screenings and stuff.
Yeah.
So I hosted a tech talk up at Skinny's Garage.
Yes.
And loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I'd love to do more stuff like that.
How does a shy kid from Yamba go and host a tech talk in front of like a group of people?
Oh, the one that goes up there and the knees knock together when they're doing a speech in class.
Understand it, but yeah, it's weird, eh?
Yeah, I know. It's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's so much you can do with this. Like I want to go and work for a race team at some point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's such a cool. I can't recommend it highly enough. Yeah.
Yeah. What can you offer a race team?
My good looks.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, like it's one of those things, like I look at it, just diversity.
Yeah.
You know, like some trades, I'm going to be careful in saying this, but some are like what you're saying about the pedal beating at collision courses. What you've got is actually tangible skills. Like you've worked on so much different stuff. That's where coming into a race team, because it's so 1 minute you're repairing a fairing right through to, you know, what are we doing with data or something like that. That's probably what I was probably getting at. You know?
Yeah, no, that's probably more of a mature answer for it.
Yeah.
It's so many. Exactly. Taking stuff into it.
Yep.
Like I can do case repairs on bikes, like alley cases.
Yep.
Like welding them up, and just knowing like when something's too far gone or something that you can still fix.
Yep.
Like it's.
Now, a lot of bike builders aren't into racing.
Mate, why not?
I don't know, but it just doesn't seem like that. A lot of the bikes are more just not race sort of thing.
Yep.
Why Bonneville? Why not Bonneville? Why Lake Gardner? Like, what drives like a racing? You say you want to maybe look at racing stuff. Why?
I think just being a rev head.
Just a gearhead.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I'd love to just build a showpiece that sits on a wall.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. For someone to say to me, right, I want you to build something for my collection.
Yep.
I would froth that. I would go to town and work 1,000,000 hours a week to do that. But for me, currently, I can really only build bikes for customers that want to use them.
Yes.
And that's more so the direction I've gone into. And I take a lot of influence from like race bikes and
Yep.
all that sort of stuff as well.
Roland Sands. Like the design styles?
Yes, definitely. I also like how he incorporates a lot of aluminium into his work as well.
Yep.
He could definitely go down that plastic route, but it's all still very fabricated and really well made.
Yep.
And yeah, the finish on them is just exceptional.
Let's pump your brain here for a sec. Industrial design of motorcycle or mechanical design. What do you see coming?
Look, the electric bike future is huge. Yeah. We're just waiting for the battery technology to be here.
Yep.
And that is 100% the direction that we will be going in.
Yep.
There's no one can drag a chain on that one. Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah, love it.
Yep.
Yeah, make
Embrace
great
it.
power. Yeah, it's really good. Only thing is, just the noise isn't really there.
Yeah.
If you could do straight cut gears and like make it a little bit more whiny, that'd be pretty cool.
Or just put a Gilmer drive on like a fake car. But yeah, that is something that's needed, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of sounds. You know, I think especially motorcycles, you ride them for pleasure, you know, passion, you know. So sound is, you know, people.
Sound and feel. Like I like being an old bike guy. Like
Yep.
I mostly the stuff I do is old bikes, and I love.
Yep.
Like I was talking with my mate on the way here. Like I'd love an old like R100.
Yep.
Like a old airhead, just because you can feel it like what's the name, idling.
Yeah.
You can feel it idling like it. You can feel everything like that. And as a mechanic, like I understand what's going on, and you're thinking about it, and it's really cool to think how much is actually working to get you moving.
It's like you can look behind the cases.
Yeah,
like when you're
exactly.
actually riding it, you can see, you basically visualize what's actually moving through here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of thing. What's a dream build? Is there a certain bike that goes, Keeley, one day, obviously your Harley's one, I'll build this when I'm 50, but is there a dream build?
Oh, just so many.
Really? Like, is there a matchless, a BSA? Is there anything like that? Or
Probably a Vincent.
A Vincent?
Get my hands on a Vincent would be pretty cool.
Yeah, okay.
Only if it's bastardized already. Yeah, I wouldn't
don't wanna touch it?
No, I wouldn't touch an original one. No way.
Yeah.
Or a Bruff or something like that.
It'd be very cool.
Yeah, there comes a point when it's that prestigious, you're not gonna wreck it. Yeah.
How old are you?
25.
25. You've got a awesome knowledge of bikes, like older bikes and stuff as well. Like the way you're just throwing around when you went to Loves, you said 900s, 750s here, and like you're saying about your dad having bikes when young. Was he into them, like big into them, or was this just something that you've just?
He's the world's worst mechanic.
Yeah, right.
He's a waxhead. Awesome rider, incredible rider actually. But yeah, pretty much only dirt bikes. Like he likes bikes and like.
But not like the
it.
knowledge like you've got now.
No, not like And my old bike knowledge comes really from working at Surfside and the variety that we actually worked on there.
Yep. Yeah, because like when you're just throwing the names around there, like I might be wrong, but there doesn't seem to be too many 25-year-old people that could just chuck names out like that, like, oh, this one and
but
this one.
There's so much I don't know.
Of course.
I will not say I'm a good mechanic until I die, because there's so much more to learn, and so much, like, I can learn something off a random down the street. Like it's, and going to old bike shows, like old school bike shows, where it's like 10 bikes turn up and it's like an old school show and shine, is awesome to sit there and talk to the old boys.
Yeah.
And just like, they'll rattle off numbers and stuff like that, but when you really get them to like the mechanical side of things, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. And one of the family friends that we've got from Ballina, really good mechanic, like in 70s now. And it's one of the ones where, like, CNC, mill, everything, do your own everything. And I know he's ambition for life, one of the things was to build a radial plane motor, every part, like, wow, like how do you even think about doing it? But it's just something that I guess if you've got that skill and the possibilities of doing it, you can do it. Do you see, and like my other friends and mechanics and stuff, do you see it changing over the time, even since you started? How's that going?
Over the time, since I started, not really.
No?
Not really. I haven't been in it long enough.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Yeah. I definitely see it changing. It's hard knowing like the knowledge, it's like some of the knowledge that the old boys have.
Yeah.
And seeing what little is being passed on, and how little is being passed on, like even from like TAFE trainers towards apprentices,
Right.
And senior mechanics. Like, yeah, there's so much knowledge there that's getting lost in people passing away and not sharing it exactly. Like it takes a certain someone to actually give that knowledge and talk about it. Yeah.
Now, do you think that's because it's like protected knowledge, or do you think it's like?
But it shouldn't be.
No,
it shouldn't be protected. That sort of stuff should be passed on.
Yeah.
And I think just asking the right questions, like say if you're an apprentice, asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Like, there is no dumb question, but
But
there's
it is
some
if you ask
question.
it 5
yeah,
times.
exactly. It's a bit annoying when you do that.
Yeah.
But asking, okay, so how's that work? And getting that, and then they'll go, oh, and it's like this model does this way, and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's such an interesting field, and I just don't know where it goes now. With obviously, have you ridden a live wire in your time?
No, I think only one I've ridden is a Suron and an Alta.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was it? I haven't ridden an electric bike, so it's going to be interesting to see where the mechanical field goes.
Yeah, with the mechanical, there's still a lot going on with them.
For sure.
There's still service work and bearing replacements and all that sort of stuff. And a big thing that's going to come in with them is cooling. To create good power with an electric motor, it's got to keep cool. So there's going to be there's going to be a lot of innovation in that, which will be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, honestly, we don't have an option.
No.
the way the world's going and the climate.
Yep.
We don't really have an option in it. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. How was riding on Alta?
I only rode it like around the corner.
Yeah.
Like in the car park.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also rode one of those dual drive like dirt bikes.
Like they
yeah, I think they're used to be made. I'm not sure if they still make them, but made down in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And that was cool to work on, like all the.
So they feed a portion of power to the front wheel.
Yeah. So chain drive off the rear, obviously.
Yep. A PTO style or something for the front.
Yeah. So there's a secondary gear off the output shaft.
Yep.
So the front sprocket going up into a gearbox. Well, not a gearbox, but like a chain drive up the frame. And then it goes into like a worm drive and it actually runs up and then down the fork to a helicular cut gear on the bottom and a drive to the front wheel.
Wow.
Yeah, you can turn it on and off. Like there's a clutch, well, not a clutch, but a disengagement in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember they made a WR450.
Yeah, they did a couple models.
A couple of models for it and stuff, and I think it was good, but it just never sort of not took off, but it just didn't seem to go anywhere. But I can imagine things like sand and that.
Yeah.
Be pretty handy, like thick sand, and like what you rode on the first day.
Yep.
That would be pretty cool up there, apart from roosting yourself in the helmet all the time and stuff. But yeah, mate, obviously we're in a work day here, so I better let you get back to your
keep me here. It's
your last sort of semi last day. What mechanically, what do you got to work on yourself, like skill set?
Work on myself.
Yeah. This has been a very mechanical podcast, but that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I was nerd out about that a little bit, and design and people of influence. But yeah, what do you got to work on to make it better for yourself?
I think just years of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Just the knowledge. The more you do, the more you understand.
Right.
I'd take from it all. So yeah.
Now, we'll go back to the start. You're saying about bullying at school.
Mm-hmm.
How do you address that in the work, like going to work now? Is this something that you've taken into conscious about being good to other people in the workplace? Is that something like a life lesson, or how'd that go?
Yep. Treating anyone the way you want to be treated is huge. But yeah, just dealing with it. So like motorcycles has really helped me stay alive, to be honest. Right. It's really helped me manage like my younger years. In like the way that we were talking about earlier, you can switch off and yeah, it's helped me a lot with like my anxiety and mental health. And I think, yeah, just on the day to day stuff, it's doing more. Like the more you go on, the more resilient you become.
Yeah.
So
probably get to a point where it's, I don't know, like hardened steel. You know, like
yeah, exactly.
Probably not a good terminology or whatever, but you get to a point where it's like very things are impactful more. The softer or the start of the thing, longer time, it just hardens. A callus.
Yeah. Like mental health's hard at the best of times, and yeah, it's definitely never going to be understood completely. That's for sure.
Nah.
Yeah.
Now, to get to wide of the mark, you mentioned Tide before. Tide obviously works here.
Yep.
Harley Tech himself and mechanic. He took you there, didn't he?
Yeah, he drove me down. Yeah.
Just out of the...
Tide's the best fella I've ever... best guy I've ever known. Like, I've known him since high school.
Yeah.
And just funnily bumped into him. Like, I moved into his apartment up on the Gold Coast when he was moving out.
Yeah.
No idea. It's just completely coincidental. Same thing, like, bumped into him at Harley. And then he was working in Northern Beaches when I was so we're both in Brookvale.
Yep.
We had a good group of guys. That was the best thing about Brookie, is because there was apprentices at every single shop.
Yep.
And so you'd all come together at like a Wednesday or a Thursday and go to the pub and play pool. And Tide's been one of my closest mates for years. Yeah.
Yep.
And very, very, very knowledgeable Harley guy. Like if I ever get stuck, I call him.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, even with some of my dirt bike stuff and that, he's helped me out immensely. Like just knowledge, you know. Now, is he hitting all the beaches for Fraser's?
Yes, he
at that
was.
time. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, working under Paul Beebe, who's one of the greatest Harley technicians in Australia.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of those areas where there's so many bike shops and that, you end up breeding like a really good troop of mechanics.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And the knowledge, like. So if Trev didn't know something, he'd call like Sean down the road.
Yep.
APW or like it was such a knowledge. Like so to the point that next door. So back to Brookie.
Yeah.
Next door you had from me a door down. You had Matt Bromley.
Right.
Who had built bikes for Mad Max Furiosa.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think Pacific Rim as well. Did bikes for them. So full custom bike builder, like no tomorrow. And then upstairs from him, there was a guy called Tinworks. So Anthony Keeling. He built frames in the US. So he owned his own frame manufacturing company, like chopper frame, and like oil tanks and all sorts of stuff. He still personally builds frames for... who's the guy from Orange County Choppers? Paul Senior.
Paul, yeah.
He still
Paul Tuttle.
Tuttle. He still builds frames for him. Like he built one for him last week, and he used to build frames for Jesse Rook, so Rook Customs, like everyone, anyone you can think of in that industry over there, and like back a little bit further back.
Yep.
And then with him he had a guy named Jono. Jono owns Kanzi Giant now. He used to build like world rally car roll cages and all sorts of stuff all around the world, and insane fabricator. He builds some really like awesome stuff now. Does a lot of chopper work down in Sydney, in Brookie still, and like that. Like that was next door.
Yeah,
it's so cool, and like you got to get out and talk to guys like that. You can't just close yourself off, go home at the end of the day. Like I don't understand that about workshops and some mechanics.
Yep,
it's just like exactly focused on I get through the day and go home. Like you can enjoy it by seeing what else is around there, and that's what I meant by like observing and like taking stuff in. When I said like earlier,
yep,
Yeah, there's so many paths with this industry. It's so cool.
Like you said too about going to play pool with the mechanics from other dealerships and stuff there. With the apprentices and stuff.
Yeah.
That's another part to it. Like every apprentice is learning something different, and I get to go to heaps of different motorcycle businesses and stuff, and that's one thing I sort of see changing since like growing up next to a bike shop. Like I said to, who did I say it to? Might have been Josh on the last one that we did. Was everyone hung around Friday nights and spoke about mechanical stuff.
Yeah.
And as an apprentice, that's usually when you've got more time to. You're not going home usually, not always, to family or this and that. But I just don't sort of see it too many times these days where you're going and even just forming bonds with other people within the shops and stuff. It sort of just doesn't happen as much anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore, but it just doesn't seem to happen in all business.
Yeah. And I guess from a perspective nowadays, drinking out the back isn't really.
That can't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
well, it's very hard to happen.
Yeah, it's frowned upon.
It is.
It's frowned upon.
Yep.
And I think it should be fine.
Yeah.
Having a beer after work on a Friday.
Yeah.
And sitting there and talking with your boss, and you can go back through and say, okay, what do you think I did well this week? Or he'll bring up a job that you went over time on this.
Yep.
And he'll say you should have just done this. Stuff that he doesn't get the chance to say then and there when you're doing a job, because he's got phone calls, quotes.
For sure.
Everyone's
busy.
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's the same deal with the Saturdays. It's just changed in that, not changed in that way, but I just think that's probably one of the biggest lessons that I can take away from talking to you and even just pass on would be just, man, that's Saturday after work, just catch up with those people that you see through the week, and it's just a different thing when you actually get to break it down, when it's not as tense, where it's he's not hassling me about my job. He's actually telling me something that's going to help me about my job, I think anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And you get to understand the people that you're working with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everyone has the same personality.
Shit, no.
Yeah.
No, and that's very, very hard to do that.
Yeah.
Where can people find you online? And tell us about your business a little bit too.
Yeah, so Pritchett and Sons Moto.
Yep.
No, I don't have any sons. I do plan on having them one day.
Yep.
Everybody gets me on the name on that one. But yeah, so Pritchett and Sons Moto, you can find me on Instagram just under that, or Facebook. I mostly I like pre-90s stuff. More different the better.
Yeah.
But yeah, so mostly the stuff I do is fabrication, service work, and a bit of everything. Yeah.
So for people that are obviously listening, you can do pretty much it's everything.
Yeah.
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 And if you're down that northern New South Wales part of the world as well, I know a lot of people listen from there on this. So yeah, make sure you hit him up.
And, call in. Come say good day. Come have a beer with me.
Yeah, come have a beer. It's always good.
Chat bikes.
Yeah,
I can do that for ages.
Beautiful part of the world, obviously, as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny in the last, when you host one of these, you have online, you have Podbean is who it's hosted through, and then YouTube and that. I've got heaps of listeners from New Mexico.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why. Must have been just one of the topics. I'm not sure why, but heaps of people tune in from New Mexico. Another one I think might have been Alberta in Canada. Just weird places, because you get a basic graphic. You don't get their address and their name or anything, but someone's probably got that. But so anyone's listening over there, come to Australia and build a bike.
Yeah, no, sounds good. What with you?
Yeah.
What do you see any trend trends with conversations with the, because it's not that broad of an audience, that you're talking to.
Yep.
Do you see trends in the way that people hold themselves and talk when they're in the same industry, or?
I think it's protected at the start. So without going giving it away or anything, but Tom Gilroy.
Yeah.
When I first spoke to Tom, right, Tom didn't have a clue who I was or nothing, and I'm no one either. The industry doesn't have knowledge about each other's knowledge, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not a mechanic. I got third year, in diesel mechanic, right? I'm not a mechanic, but I've got a fair knowledge of bikes and stuff like that. And like you, I'm addicted to the damn things. It's ridiculous. It's real bad. Yep. And it's terrible. And I love them, and I love machinery. Like I love tractors. I love planes. Don't like flying in them, but I like planes. But yeah, like when I first spoke to Tommy, he's like talking about bikes, and he's sort of like thinking probably blank. I think, like, does this guy know what I'm talking about? But once you build a relationship with someone, then it's like, oh wow, we can go real deep on talking about this bike. We can talk about Castrol 6 hours, like you mentioned. I think that's probably a trend. Like I think in conversations, I think trying to build relationships with different parts of the communities is very hard. But once you sort of do have one or two, it makes it easier to communicate.
Where does your knowledge, like, so this is just personal for me because I listen to all your podcasts.
That's good, yeah.
You fire off at people with their racing history and the tracks and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. For me, that's like a little bit younger.
Yeah.
And hearing your knowledge of like all that and the guys that were racing at the same era and time and all, where the hell does that come from? Is it it's like a dictionary for me, hearing it all.
It's real bad. Same deal as the addiction of having the bikes. For some reason, I remember all of it.
Yeah.
Like, close to all of it. Let's go to a motorcycle trivia night. For some reason, it's there. Like, I don't know why, and that sounds incredibly cocky, but there's about 70-something episodes out now. About 2 hours. There's 100 and, 2 hours an episode. Nearly a couple hundred hours of talking about it. You could know it's not fake. Like there's no notes in here. It's just something that sticks there. And I don't know why, but I remember like from a kid, like just reading, and like my dad just loved bikes, like loved automobiles as well. Like I'd read from Truck and Life to Revs to Australian Motorcycle News to pretty much everything that he got. And we've still got like every magazine, and we're thinking about going to swap meet actually and getting rid of them because they weigh you down when you move.
Yeah.
Right? Like they really do. But they're such good knowledge. Like we've got classic car and classic bike books from like I think the earliest is about 69, right through to pretty much now. Sort of dropped off the digital years a little bit, but still Motorcycle News is one that comes into the thing. So I think it's reading it, watching it, being associated with it. I'm not the best rider ever, never will be, but just being around it forever, I just picked it up. And, I'd like to be smarter at music. I got no musical talent. Love music as much as bikes, but it's bikes and far out, it's just stuck, and it's a passion, and it ain't leaving anytime soon. Like, and I don't want it to leave. And, and it's admiration. I admire riders. I admire builders. Like for me, I'm a big fan of the Roland Sands, especially the early things, like the things like the KR Kenny Roberts builds and that he first did. I was like a huge fan because I am a racer at heart. I'm not much of a cruiser person per se, but he built that sort of real fine line of building like a tracker. Like he was building some pretty cool trackers in the early phase. And
did you see the Desmo Sedici one that he did?
Yeah, it was incredible.
That's
if
I could have a big blown up poster, that'd be one of them.
Same here. Yeah. That's the sort of build that I really loved. And there was that, and then there's the KRV, who was one of the Kenny Roberts GP bikes. Things like that. Like I don't know. I admire racers because there's a dedication to it, but I admire the builders that actually have got the skills, because it's just like we said, it's a matter of just doing laps, and it's hours, and through admiration you get addicted. And if you want to talk to someone respectfully too, you want to be able to have a knowledge of it. And like you talking in front of people up at Skinnies, man, I never thought I'd be talking about this stuff, but at some point when you look back at it, you go, okay, maybe there was, sitting there at school reading Street Machine or Motorcycle News and stuff, maybe there was a reason why. And I can talk about bikes every day of the week, in and out, so I think it's just an addiction, sadly.
I just thought of your question earlier about where you see like the industry going. and what I've noticed and stuff, I think, and what triggered it was your mention of the magazines.
Yeah.
I don't read. I'm shocking at reading.
Yep.
I like photos.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a thing with my generation as well, is the accessibility just to use your phone and look at stuff and move along to the next thing. So having a magazine and flicking through and the tech talk in there and definitely the understanding of like how a bike is.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely going by the wayside. And I don't know, like, it's probably not just from magazines and stuff, but the consumerism side of things is pushing people away from actually working on bikes themselves. And dealers in particular are making it harder for people to work on their own bikes.
Yep.
Harleys are accessible because they're tractors. They're easy to work on.
It's still got the same pattern, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm more so talking about like Ducatis. Like,
yep.
Yeah, I still get nervous. I still got to look at a manual before I touch one of those.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think like you're saying there too. I think tangible items. You know, aluminium. It's texture. You know, textile item. Magazines like that. I think digitally, like when I read something digitally, I'm not taking it all in.
No.
You know, I went to film school. A lot of that was still digital textbook.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how much? I paid a lot of money for this. How much do I really probably take in? I've learnt more outside of it, and I'm a harsh critic to it. Now I've done it, to be honest, and it's good. And it got me some opportunities that I may not have if I didn't. But having the magazine to go back to, they're like textbooks. Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
And I get so much from still reading a magazine more than I would a bike review on YouTube. And we're like, same as you, like we're in the YouTube era. It's even to the thing of like replacing fork seals. There's like 2 million videos online on YouTube, but I can go back to like Australian Dirt Bike from 1995 and have the, you know, because, well, I look at a lot of the brands. They haven't really changed fork seal technology. It's still pretty much the same thing. I still can't do them, but I can go back to that. You know what I mean? Like it's, I get so much more out of reading out of paper than what I do out of online. And maybe it's a generational thing, but I still think it's about having the texture of being able to read it. You take more in. Yeah. And I think, even you go to a workshop, there's no magazines in the workshop toilet anymore. There's probably a lot of time wasted there.
There's also no nudie posters up on the walls as well.
But it's all changed.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the big thing. And, you know, like, I don't know. Photographic memory for that stuff's a pretty handy tool sometimes. But tell you what, you get overloaded in it too. Yeah. You'd be the same. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
You got to pick and choose.
Yeah.
You got to pick and choose what you take. Like, especially like as an apprentice and working with mechanics, there's some mechanics that I like really admire and respect, and I try and take on as much as what they can give me. There's other guys that have got skills and different ways of doing something, and you use that. There's a lot of stuff that they'll go, oh, you got to do it this way, and you have to be the personal, like you have to make it personal, your own choice. If you're going to take that and use that or not.
That's a hard one. Because like, and this is the thing, like you get a textbook, you go to the service manual of say Harley, we'll go to. It is the best practical way to do it.
No.
No, but from the side from that. Yeah. But if you're doing it every day.
There's so many shortcuts and techniques and
that's pretty hard, especially as an apprentice when you're told.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Like we're not told, but this is the thing. This is your Bible. Yeah. You know, hope no apprentices listen to this, but you know what I mean. Like once you're doing something every day, you find patterns and routines that you can make work for yourself. It's hard.
Yeah, and like with a race bike and stuff like that. This is all assumption. I haven't worked with a team before. But that's
out the window.
Yeah, that sets them apart completely. In the way that they like the procedure comes back to procedure again.
For sure.
And how they go about doing something. For like majority, like say in a dealer, it's got to be exactly the way that the book tells it, and it does. It comes down to a safety side of things as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing is that person, whether it be you when you've finished servicing or doing a top end on a bike, rides out of here and has the safest possible journey that they can have. That's where it has. And same with racing, but the racing thing, there's a methodical way, but it's different to the textbook.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still a
I'm
method.
talking about like cheating a fuel line or something like that.
Yeah.
Like say if you need to pull something off, you can just pull the fuel line back a little bit instead of having to take out the fuel pump.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
No, I totally get it, and yeah, they're hard tips to teach to people though, and
Yeah, exactly. And there's some things in that like that can't be taught as well.
Yeah, yep.
You just got to do it yourself.
it's feel.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
really feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to do more painting?
No.
Really?
It's too tedious now.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I hate painting. I hate upholstery. I hate relining tanks.
Yeah, okay.
Can't stand relining tanks.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just the funny things that
What do you
despise.
enjoy? What's the favourite part of being hands on? Is it the metal work?
and electrical as well.
Electrical?
Love electrical.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's funny. Like,
That's rare.
yeah, well, motorcycles, a lot of it is electrical as well.
Yep.
Especially old bikes. Like half the time is electrical.
Yeah, it's a gremlin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And like working on old European, not European stuff, but old Pommy stuff.
Yeah.
And you got Lucas Electrics. So, yeah, if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's an absolute nightmare.
Torture.
Yeah, exactly. A guy named Lucas just wanted to
Is that where it came from?
demoralize other people.
He was a Lucas. Like, is that?
I'm not sure.
Has to be.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's it's been their plague, hasn't it?
Yeah. Prince of Smoke. Yeah.
Sorry.
Prince of Smoke.
That or oil leaks,
Yeah.
but that got better.
Yeah, and you can. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can rectify that too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So like oil leaks on old Pommy bikes, if you lap something,
Yep.
so like flat surface, get a case and you lap it, it
Yep.
normally will seal up pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah. And the only thing with like old Pommy bikes that really you struggle with nowadays is metallurgy. I can't even say it.
It's a terrible word.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like so heads on like old 60s and 50s bikes and all that sort of stuff get soft over time because of the heat cycles and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot to it. Yeah.
So what happens? Okay, so we go back to those old bikes. What happens to them when they get to the end of their metal cycle? Because they potentially will, especially the ones that are used.
Yeah.
Do you have to get a new head, for instance?
Oh, depends.
Okay.
Depends. Yeah, if you wanted to, say if it was an aluminium head, you could preheat it and actually re-weld it,
Yep.
and then deck it back to the original height.
Wow.
So it's not shrinking completely. So you got the right amount of squish and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Some things you can fix. Some things you just go, no way, it's too much.
We could just put like really thick gaskets in.
Yeah, exactly.
Seal ups.
Yeah, but
joking.
it also comes down to the customer as
Yeah.
well in this sort of stuff. As I own personal bike, you could throw 50 hours at something and not care.
Yep.
Like I do. Instead of buying another part, I'll just fix it.
I'm going to ask you this. What's the most crazy hours you put onto something that, like, you just look at it and you go, man, I've put a week into this widget.
Yeah.
Like, what is something?
Oh.
Is there something, an exhaust? Have you made an exhaust?
Yeah, I made an exhaust.
They take some time,
Nah, they're all right now.
are they?
Yeah.
Originally?
Yeah, originally.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're learning.
Yep.
My first ever fuel tank out of alley that I'm shaped up, I probably threw 3 or 4 weeks into that.
Into the tank.
And that's every single night doing 5-6 hours, and then a weekend as well.
Wow.
So that's a fair few hours in it, but I can do one now in a couple of days. So
Yep.
yeah,
Is that something, like, that's such a prideful job, I feel anyway. Like, you look at a good shaped tank, it's very prideful.
yeah, metal shaping very much. So
Yep.
like the finished product is just so rewarding. There's so much in it because like when you're shaping metal, like say if you're trying to stretch something and hammer it, like shrink it and stuff, it looks like a rumpled hamper. Like it's like someone's come in and just dropped their undies on the floor and it's just folded up on the ground.
Yep.
And then you take it from that and give it a nice polish and it's no dents in it and it's perfect and straight. And it's hugely
So
rewarding.
how do you get to that point? Like, what's
lot
a
of
process?
hours.
Yeah, okay. Because what is the process? So you get a sheet.
Yep.
Tell me about building a tank.
Oh, this is Keeley's tech talks now.
Yeah, I want a tech talk. Give me a tech talk.
So
What's the go? What happens?
having the overall shape and picture of it in your head is biggest goal. And knowing, so templating it and knowing how much that material is going to shrink and stretch is huge.
Does leaderage ever come into it?
Sorry?
Does leaderage ever come into it, or is it style?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like
Okay.
why did the Mark bike had to be a big tank?
Yep.
I had the best fuel economy because I built like a massive tank for it.
Right.
And a styling of it made it tie in so it didn't look too bulbous, so
Yep.
too huge. But yeah, so shape of the tank in your head, then you need your pattern. That's probably the hardest part to work out. I can spend days with cardboard.
Yep.
A lot of the stuff always starts with cardboard and a set of scissors. And
Cardboard the best shaping tool?
it's good. It's
Yep.
good for like most templating. Like
Yeah.
in a lot of like, because I don't do much stuff on the computer.
Yep.
I don't 3D scan and then put in like what I want out of it. So I don't draw it up in CAD.
Yep.
And CAD you could do that quite easily, but I'm just not that way inclined and sitting behind a computer. Yeah.
Yep. That makes sense. So
Yeah.
you shape it with the cardboard?
Shape it with like so your template, you do it out of cardboard or foam or something like that, and then
Yep.
you figure out how much you need to shrink the metal and move the metal, and then you can't do it all out of one piece of metal, obviously.
Yep.
Depending on the shape. If you're making a square, you can do it out of 4 bits. Like, so yeah, shape, and then once you're happy with your joints and you're pretty happy with it, tack it up, weld it up.
Yep.
Sand it, finish it. So, yeah.
Wow.
Nutshell, very, very short in form, but yeah, it's a very like that'd be like what we talked about earlier with the magazine. You have to see it with your own eyes.
Yeah.
You have to feel it. You have to know, like, be there for that, what's going on. And that's why, like, with a tech talk at Skinnies or something with an exhaust build, I can show, like, okay, this isn't going to work because it's going to do this.
Yep.
And, like, it's the same thing with metal. If I hit a flat bit of metal with a hammer and put a ding in it, it's going to do this. Like, yeah.
And this is where, like you're saying, like an artist in a way, but this is where an artist turns to practicality. Because like an artist would just be like we just make that happen, that happen.
Yeah.
But then mechanically, you need to have it practical too. This is where that crossover comes. Hey, when you're doing a piece of art, but you need it to be practical to be able to hit it, make it shape, whatever.
Yeah.
It's crossover. Love it.
Cool.
Absolutely love it, mate. Well, yeah, check them out online. Obviously, Pritchett and Sons. Thanks for obviously coming upstairs.
Yep.
Just a big wonder, mate. But we've spoken online for a couple of years too, and I appreciate your work. And I feel that's probably the biggest compliment that someone can, like, you just work, mate. It's just appreciate it so much. And
thank you.
As a person, since getting to know you a wee bit here at Harley and stuff, it's just been cool to get to know you. And hopefully you can come and have some beers and maybe a dirt bike ride in your area or something sometime.
Yeah, we're talking.
That'd be mint, mate. But thanks for coming in.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Cool, mate.
That's all we have time for on today's show. If you get the chance, head over to YouTube and hit subscribe on the Talk and Chatter page. Also, head over to iTunes and give us a star rating and a review there. It all helps to get the podcast out there. A big thank you goes to everyone that's been doing this already, and we'll be back with another show soon.